'tis the season for Crescent Venus.
Hey there, stargazers. I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida.
And I'm Dean Regas, astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory. Fellow stargazer Marlene Hidalgo will join us to help you find your way around the sky. So, the moon goes through phases every month.
Every what?
Month. The time it takes for the moon phases to repeat. It takes 29 and a half days to go through the full cycle, so it's not quite a month, it's a
month. I like that.
Well, the planet Venus also goes through phases, but it takes a lot longer and the cycle is a lot more complicated.
I know. Venus and Earth are both going around the Sun, but since Venus is closer, it goes faster. And when it is almost between us and the Sun, you can see a crescent Venus.
And now is the perfect time to catch a crescent Venus right after sunset.
Let's show you. Before we get to Venus, we have one other little event happening. We have our sky set to December 16th at 8 p.m. facing east. The full moon is about a third of the way up in the sky.
Lower in the northeast, you'll find bright Jupiter. It'll be just above a fainter star called Wazat. That's part of the constellation Gemini. And for your reference, Orion is over there, just south of east.
Over the next couple of nights, the moon will shift toward Jupiter. Here we are on December 17th, and the moon has moved its apparent position and is now a waning gibbous.
Then, here is December 18th at 8 p.m. The moon is now just a few degrees to the right of Jupiter. Remember earlier in the year when we had monthly close encounters between the moon and Jupiter? Well, they're back.
You've probably been seeing Venus a lot after sunset. It's been low in the southwest for months and it is crazy bright. We pushed our time back a little and it is now 6:15 p.m. on December 16 and there it is, a dazzling beacon just above the horizon. Let's take a closer look with the telescope and see what's going on Venus. You might be surprised to see that Venus through a telescope is not perfectly round. In fact, you might do a double take when you first look at it. Is that the moon?
No, my friends, that is not the moon, but Venus in her crescent phase.
Normally, Venus is pretty boring in a telescope. Her clouds block us from seeing any surface features, so she looks like a blank white light. But when Venus is like this, two things are happening.
One, Venus is closer to us and thus looks larger in the telescope. Two, Venus is coming between us and the sun, so the sunlight is backlighting her and we can only see a little crescent of light.
Speaking of crescents, the crescent moon will drift by Venus one more time in the evening sky. Mark your calendars for January 2nd, and if you have a telescope, get it ready.
We have our sky set to January 2nd, just after sunset, facing southwest. If it's really clear outside, as darkness begins to fall, you will see the waxing crescent moon no more than 10 degrees above the horizon.
As it gets darker, Venus could pop out lower in the sky.
This will all be happening very low in the southwestern sky, so it could be tough to catch.
Make sure you have a clear view of the horizon and start looking just minutes after the sun goes down.
If you have your telescope ready, take a look at Venus first, and you'll see it as the slimmest crescent. Only 3% of the side facing us will be lit by the sun. That's because in 8 short days, Venus will be between us and the sun. It won't line up perfectly like when we had the transit of Venus in 2012, but it will be just above the sun and invisible from view, until it pops out in the morning skies 8 days later.
Then check out the moon through your telescope. It'll look almost identical to Venus, except a lot bigger, with 3% of its lunar surface lit.
Wow, I gotta check that out on January 2nd. January should be a great month.
Keep
looking up.